LSE London is engaged in a 2-year program of events, site visits and seminars around the question of how to accommodate the growing population of London. It's already an issue, and it's set to become even more of a problem in future, as migration and natural growth are set to increase London's population to nearly 10 million. One of the outputs of the project will be a list of recommendations for the new mayor about how to accelerate housing development in London and how to find places to put this housing. It requires a creative approach, and we saw a good example of that creativity when we visited Bermondsey on the 3rd of February. We were guests of Leather Market JMB, a tenant management organisation that operates 1,500 homes for Southwark Council, and Igloo Developers. Together they're working to build 27 new dwellings on the site that's currently occupied by 20 garages. It's called the Kipling Estate. Bermondsey is best known maybe as the home of the Shard, Guy's Hospital, Southwark Cathedral, Borough Market and London Bridge Station, all major landmarks of central London. But it's also a residential neighbourhood. It faces acute housing problems just like the rest of London. Is it possible to provide more genuinely affordable housing for local people on what is some of the most expensive real estate in the world? The planned development at Kipling Garages shows one approach to developing new housing in a constrained urban setting, with the full backing of the local community.
We set up an affordable housing group, so we just invited any residents that were interested in working on this to come in, and as many experts as we could kind of get our hands in.
We went to the very first meeting with a completely open mind. We had no plans, no ideas of massing or scale or volume or units or any of that. Went to the meeting and started with a blank sheet of paper and asked the local people, what do you want? If there is development, do you want to control it and what do you want to see happen there?
I kind of say we got an idiosyncratic building because we consulted so intensively. So we've got a building that dips in the middle that not many people have, and it was exactly because we were kind of talking to people and the people opposite were saying, yeah, we want to kind of protect our view.
We've done so much community engagement and we had got so much buy-in from the local community. I think there was perhaps 2 objections to a new development of 27 homes in central London, which was fantastic.
The block is due to be completed in 2017 and will provide 27 new flats, all at low social rents. They'll all go to existing residents on the estate, with absolute priority given to downsizers.
And the reason they did this is because they recognised the impact that this could have on the estate. There were some people with 3-bedroom properties and there were other people that were in desperate need and living in a 1-bedroom house. And we've worked out that these 27 new homes have a positive impact on over 100 families within the estate. So the chain of benefit, kind of a 4 goes to a 3, goes to a 2, goes to a 1, and you start to be able to move people around the estate and have their buy-in to that process, and making sure that you're supporting them and they understand what they're buying into was really important.
There are multiple sources of funds. The scheme received about £320,000 from the GLA's Community Right to Build Fund, and this was essential because this covered upfront costs of design and feasibility studies. There was also some money from the Community Land Trust Fund and from a local charity. But most of the money, almost £10 million, is coming from Southwark Council, who will own the homes when they're finally developed.
And so all of those people, the local area got behind the project, and that was important in the initial stages. And it's the combination of multiple different people. The reason they were able to support this to that extent was because this is 100% social housing, and that was really important for us as well, is that has always been the aim.
So is this a model that could work in other places? Yes, it could, in principle, but there are some changes going through in legislation at the moment that could threaten this model. In particular, there's a clause in the Housing and Planning Bill that is currently going through Parliament that requires local authorities to consider selling units that become empty if they're above a certain value. Here, 300 metres from the Shard, every single property on this estate will be above that value. So does that mean that when people move out of their existing homes to move into these new ones, that those existing homes will have to be sold? If it does, that takes away one of the major benefits of the whole project.
Kill the housing bill! Kill the housing bill!
JMB is the first in the country to go self-financing, which means they have total control over all the money that gets spent and raised from rents on the estate. And three things are happening. Right to buy, which is accelerated. The government's reducing the rents by 1% a year for 4 years. And now the high value sales. And that completely destroys their business plan and therefore them as an organisation. And so they're desperately trying to lobby government, and it's been raised in Parliament, for the ability as an absolute minimum to retain the receipts from the high value sales to do more development like this in the area.
The government has recently appointed a panel chaired by Lord Heseltine to look at the best way forward for estate regeneration, because it's seen as one of the major opportunities for London to densify, to put more housing on existing sites, and to improve the housing for the people who are already there. But it's often controversial because the people who live on these estates don't want to give up their green spaces. They may be happy in their existing home and not see the need for redevelopment. This scheme, which has gone through very quickly and with the full consent of residents, could show a way forward for other estates in London where small areas can be redeveloped without demolishing and rebuilding the entire estate.